I'd like to welcome first Laetitia Lim, the co-president of La French Tech Taiwan.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. So I'm Laetitia Lim, co-president of French Tech Taiwan, and we are super excited to have you here, on this special occasion to celebrate International Women's Day. So first, I'd like to thank a special thank you to L'Oréal Taiwan, who actually prepared this very nice exclusive gift for this special occasion to all of you. So I hope you enjoy that. And also, I think tonight we have also a very so we are privileged to have 9, and you will know them later on more, 9 inspiring women leaders from corporates, startups, from Europe, from Asia, to be present with us tonight to share their experiences and the challenge they went through that journey. So we are really, really thrilled to have all of you. And before we start, actually, there's another great news. I would like to all of us to celebrate with actually one of our speakers, Alice Chen from Perfect Corp. Alice, because she turned the woman unicorn yesterday in Taiwan. So we are super proud, and she still found the time to be with us tonight. So thanks a lot, and congratulations to the team, Alice. Okay, so I'll start with a short video from Clara. For those who don't know her, she's our French director of La French Tech in Paris. And actually, she used to be a chief exec in Vestiaire Collective, one of the French unicorn. And she used also to work in Asia. So she knows Asia because she actually developed Zalora as the APAC director at that time in Singapore, Thailand, and Hong Kong, if I remember correctly. So short message from Clara. Maybe I should go there. Give me a sec. Okay. Oh, sorry. Here we go.
Hello everyone, I'm Clara Chapaz. I'm the director of La French Tech, and I'm really excited to be here with you today. Thanks a lot to French Tech Taiwan to organize this amazing event. This is a very special day, and I'd like to first pay tribute to all the women who are working or leading tech companies all around the world, who are so active in our French tech communities. This is really exciting for me to see all the different projects that they're working on, all the different ideas that they're bringing to life. And I'm happy to be able to participate to this event with you today, because this is a topic, women entrepreneurship, that is really close to my heart, and that I've been really proud to support and promote over the last few years. Why is it still a topic? I think that's the first question you could probably ask me. In 2022, is being a woman and being an entrepreneur still something we should discuss? Obviously, the ecosystem is growing really fast, and we're making progress. But sadly so, the woman entrepreneurship question is still a question. We just recently announced with the French Tech the new FT 120 promotion for 2022. This is the ranking in France that is really supporting the top 120 companies who are outperforming the startups in the country, who are building really great ideas and projects, and who are really special in terms of hypergrowth and fundraising. Out of these 120 companies, unfortunately, there's not that many women. The number is growing though. It's 14 co-founders and founders, but 14 out of 120, you're going to tell me, is still very far from the 50% women, the 50% talent that could join and could build tech companies all around the world. So why is this number still low? And what can we do to improve it? I think first, it's really important, and this is probably my first message today, to really understand that this tech ecosystem all around the world is growing really fast. So there's opportunities for everyone to join. The French tech and the tech ecosystem in general needs all talents, and women can't be left aside of it, because this is huge opportunities for them to grow and to lead and to really bring their ideas to life. We're really glad to see that out of these 120 companies, more and more, so it's double the number of last year, more and more companies are led by women. but there are still a few problems in our ecosystem which we need to address. The problem of the lack of role model, as we said, not that many women are taking those responsibilities and really going and shaping the tech ecosystem. The problem of orientation. In France, we only have less than 20% of women that go to scientific or digital studies, and these studies are helping shaping the tech ecosystem of tomorrow. And the problem of financing. We've partnered with a lot of different associations here in France to really help push and close this financing gap. But the financing gap is still here, and you only have less than 5% of the total financing in France that goes to women entrepreneurs. So we can do much, much better. And I'm really pleased to be participating into this event today because I think Asia has a critical role to play in this change and can really lead forward. I myself spent a few years in Asia. I was in Thailand, in Hong Kong, and in Singapore in the early 2010. And I was really glad to see that there were quite a few women in my surroundings that were taking leading position in tech companies. The ecosystem was still very nascent, was still very new, but you could see those women going in there and really taking management position, like I did in Zalora, which is a fashion marketplace that I think still exists in the region. And it was really great to see also the sense of community that was surrounding those women and helping them succeed in this environment. So if there is one message I want to leave you with is go for it. The ecosystem is great. It's growing really fast. There's a lot you can still do. There is a lot of opportunities out there, and especially with the diversity and the performance you'll bring to the table, being a woman in entrepreneurship, you should definitely not hesitate a second and join the movement, because French tech and tech in general really needs you. So we can only encourage you and support you. And I'm sure French Tech Taiwan will help you to understand everything that is possible to support you. Have a great day.
Okay. So education, role model, and finance. So that's, the message Clara wanted to deliver. Although French tech actually did a fantastic, record year, last year, raised $11 billion, so double versus the following years, 26 unicorns. So in advance from President Macron, a target of 25 by 2025. We're already 26 by 2022. So although all those great news, there's still actually room for improvement on the women's side. Okay, so before we move forward, I'd like to take a picture. So first with our guest speakers. So I welcome the guest speakers to come on stage. We take a picture, and then we take a picture with all of you, of course. But you can do the math. It's only 4.6%. So still a long way to go. And I love this quote from actually Shirley Chisholm. She's the first African-American woman elected in US Congress back in 1968. And basically she's saying that tremendous amount of talent are being lost to our society just because that talent wears skirts. So I would like to actually welcome on stage our first speakers, our speakers for the first panel. So Manon Brevard, General Manager of BNP Paribas. Please have, and please, join me to welcome them warmly. Charlène Hu, Strategic Business Investment at Hermès Epitech. Alisa Chen, Principal at Upworks. Finny Yang, Chief HR Officer, Kuo Brothers. And Paul Young, Head of Sales at ST Microelectronics. So, maybe before we start to discuss, I will quickly introduce each of you, if you allow me. So starting from Manon. So Manon graduated from two of the most, I know she doesn't like me to say that, but two of the most prestigious engineering school in France, Polytechnique, and you did your business school in, voilà. So in science and economics. And she started her career actually in France, in BNP Paribas 20 years ago as an analyst. And then, because she was really outperforming, she doesn't like me to say that, but I'm saying it. So she soon took over roles in Asia, in Singapore first. So she spent more than 10 years in Singapore, and at the end, she was regional APAC roles based in Singapore. And now she's general manager in Taiwan for BNP, all the branches of BNP Paribas. So welcome, Manu, and thank you so much for being with us. So Charlène holds a MS from Stanford and EMBA from Chiao Tung University. I hope I'm pronouncing it well. More than 20 years of strategic investment in semiconductor industry. So where she had several senior positions in Intel Capital for more than 10 years as a director of investment, and then in Hermes Epitech as well, about 10 years, right? And she's currently sitting on the board of 9 tech companies. So in semicon, but not only, right? If I remember, so biotech is also an area where you like to invest in. So welcome, Charlène, and thank you so much for being with us. Alissa. So Alissa, she's principal at Upworks, so the leading Southeast Asia accelerator. So this program is really renowned and has both already more than 400 startups so far in different fields and from different regions in different countries in the region. And on a personal basis, Alissa loves flowers and wine. Okay. So welcome, Alissa. Fini. So Fini, I mean, many different experience in startups, VC and blockchain. So that's an interesting one. In marketing and sales, and also working for accelerator programs in the past. So she hosts a very successful podcast in blockchain and startup with more than 40,000 downloads. Wow. So, and off work, she's a solo traveler and an adventurer, and her highest record, wow, is a mountain climbing of 5,644 meters in Nepal, Kalapatara. So yeah, wow, gongxi, gongxi. And she's currently, actually, she still have to work, so she's currently a chief HR officer of Kyo Brothers. I forget. Okay, a leading e-commerce platform in Taiwan. And Polly, so our last panelist, so head of sales for Taiwan and also head of department Asia Pacific, HOD for ST Microelectronics, so leading European semiconductor companies. And with 20 years experience, she's very brave in that area. You'll know why I say that. And she had many senior roles in engineering, marketing, and sales. And she enjoys in her free time golf and cooking for her family on the weekend. So welcome, and thanks a lot, Polly. So let's get started. And just to start to discuss about men. So I think there's some brave one here. So welcome, guys. And more precisely about male-dominated industry. So what I mean by that, semiconductor, VC, venture capital, and finance. So I'll basically will ask, so Manu, then Charlène, and Polly to react on that. So maybe one statistic on semiconductors. So I read that it's about 10 or 15% only women working in semiconductor. So below 25, we consider that as a male-dominated industry, just for the sake of the definition, okay? And less than 1% in leadership roles. That's what I read from a survey from Accenture. And of course, more women in ST Micro, a larger organization. I think you have 30%. So reach minimum 30%. So that's in ST Micro. So, and actually in the VC space, in US, the VC firm, for funds about $25 million, there's only 13% of partners women. And there are 64% of the firms, so the majority of them, almost 2/3 in US, who have 0 women partners. So that's definitely, when you want to be a woman founders and then you want to raise money. So at least you'll tell us your recipe after, but that's not the cup of tea. Okay? So maybe we start with Charlène. So Charlène, you have 20 years of strategic investment, both in international companies like Intel and also big Taiwanese multinationals like Hermes Epitech. So could you share with us your journey to the top, being, double challenge, woman in semicon and doing investment? And what kind of gender stereotype, you might have faced in this high-tech industry over the years? And the second question would be, as a woman, do your investment criteria differ a bit, or not at all, from men investors? So I think that could be interesting also answer from you.
Yeah, actually, I've been working for many years. That kind of tell you my age. So, but I seldom look at myself as a female. Actually, truly speaking. So after knowing the number, lots of figures, just Letitia just mentioned, I just feel how lucky I am. Okay.
And how hard you work for that.
Yeah, I think because I've been in corporate venture investment for about 20 years, and especially with the Intel, that's actually is a semiconductor, but I would like to say that's an IT industry. And right now, my current company is semiconductor equipment. That's really semiconductor. That's a very engineering technology driven sector. So I think I think most of the time, many of the time, I face the challenge that because we have to, during the investment is you have to look at the trend. You have to kind of predict what's the trending in that sector, especially in the very hard topic, the semiconductor. So sometimes it's kind of a challenge for me to convince people the future trend of this sector. For example, when I work with that's our group company, that's Hermes Microvision, and that's a process control company. That's a e-beam direct. The company got listed in Taiwan Exchange Board, but acquired by ASML with about $3 billion US. But before the merger, before the company acquired by ASML, I told my boss, say, that's a trend. The process control tool had to be consolidated with the process tool. That's 2 years before the M&A happened. And it's kind of, when I tell people that trend, I'm not sure how many people believe what I say, but it kind of happened in a few, 2 years later. So just like we predict, we say, okay, the company, because it kind of fortune talent when you doing the investment, you have to predict whether the company gonna success in the future. That's the future. So the company's product, you have to catch the market opportunity in the future for the future market. So you have to predict the trend, and you have to prepare very well to collect lots of information and data, and to show to make people kind of trust you or believe you what you are saying. And I think additionally, the second question would be whether I invest in those companies as a female founder.
Do you have another type? I mean, are you looking at companies differently than men?
Actually, truly speaking, not in my investment, my working experience, I kind of never invested in a company that's funded by women. I'm not sure the reason, but normally it's not a problem or issue to me whether the founder is male or female. But I think probably one of the reasons is women will be kind of more willing to spend more time to assume the responsibility on their family member. I'm not sure. So just like I believe many of us, we are mom. We have a role as a mom, and that kind of have forced us to take break in our career path and spend more time with your family, with your kids. So I'm not sure whether that's the one of the reason that less female founder especially in the semiconductor industry. Because when you start a company, you have to commit, you have to start a lot of, that's a responsibility, not only yourself, all of your employees, their family, their career, their life. So you have to be responsible. So probably that's a reason, I'm not sure, yeah. But it never be a problem to me whether the founder is male or female.
Okay, thanks for the sharing, Sharon. Maybe a last one is, what do you think about women are more risk averse than men?
Risk averse.
What do you think about this? I want to say stereotype because if you, what do you think about that? Women are more risk averse than men. Is it true or not?
Yeah, I'm not sure that depends on. Probably we just feel nothing to lose, right? So yeah, but I think female is a more. We can allow the successful fail. I mean, to embrace the failure. Failure, probably to some men, they kind of face issue if you fail. But I think for most of the women, they don't think that's a fast issue. Fail, then they fail. That's it.
And I remember when we had our one-to-one, you shared with me about a company that got acquired right by Mediatek afterwards, and that actually you were observing the founder during the pitch because his English was really good, but his team English was less good. But still, he was patient enough not to pitch himself.
Yeah.
And to let his team pitch and struggle with the English and everything. And I remember you told me that that was something that you find that really you were really sensitive to that.
Well, but
as an investor.
Yeah, but actually that's a man. Actually, the CEO is a man. Well, I think the story I told Letitia is because I found many, especially in the semiconductor or IC design company, many of the founders are engineer background. But strictly speaking, engineering background started the company because they are too technical thinking. When they do the business, do the marketing, that's a different brain actually. But and many of the leader, many of the CEO, they kind of want to answer all the questions on the table and kind of lead the discussion. But that time, I think that company that's a very successful company, and the CEO is just Letitia mentioned that even though he can answer all the questions, actually that time I was work for Intel, and my Intel colleague from the United States and kind of asked a lot of questions because they are discussing a project to collaborate in the future. But the CEO just let the engineer, the young engineer, to answer all the questions but actually their English is not so good. Well, they just, I think as a leader, it kind of create a platform for employees to perform, can allow them to make mistake or allow them to kind of not doing so perfect, but they have to grow. I think that's a good leadership, a good leader. They kind of one of the key characteristics.
Thanks, Charlene. So, Polly, you're also working actually on the semiconductor, but more on the marketing and sales, and starting on the technical side. So more than 20 years as well. So in this male environment, can you share also your own journey? And if you have any advice, or what are the key success factors? Which could be, valuable advice for the audience here. And maybe starting from, you grew up in a family of how many girls?
Yeah.
How many guys?
I think before answering your questions, I would like to say that it's my pleasure to be here, to be invited to join this event. And I would like to say Happy Women's Day for all the beautiful and the courageous women present here, okay? And also Happy Women's Day to all the men present here, because you are important partners to all the women, okay?
Thanks, Polly.
Okay, I'm raised in a family which dominated by women. Okay, so always my father encouraged me that when I'm making a decision, not to consider me as a woman. Okay, so instead he encouraged me to do more things that usually women don't do. Okay, for example, like to learn martial. He would like to send me to Shaolin Si. I don't know how many of them you know this, to learn Kung Fu when I was a small child. Actually, I was very afraid that time because I think he is really meaningless, and every time I try to hide myself, behind my mother because I don't want to be sent to China, 少林寺 to learn Kung Fu, But my father is really meaningless. So when I been raised in such kind of family, my father's expectation is that he raised me is really like I'm a son. I'm a son in the family. Okay. So how to work in the men-dominated company? Okay. I think it's really tough and not easy. Like Charlene, you just mentioned, we need to deal with engineering thinking type of people every day. It's not easy, and usually when I just joined the company ST Microelectronics, I have the boss who is the Western. And he always he has the stereotype of woman, okay? And he always consider that the woman has the less capacity to doing things because you need to deal with family issue, kids, and also husband or boyfriend, okay? So always have this stereotype. But I think the important thing is not how they view us. I think the important thing is that the capability for you to ask questions, and also the capability for you to putting on the table, because these two things are matters about how other people view you and how they choose the way to discuss with you. So this is my thought that how to grow in the men-dominated industry.
Thanks, Polly, for this. Manon? So let's move to finance with Manon, who's been, making a great career in BNP Paribas. So actually, finance is also male-dominated. We had to wait till 2021 to have the first female CEO of a Wall Street bank, right? Jen Fraser, so CEO of Citigroup. So Manon, you also graduated from engineering schools where there's more, men than women. So you get used to that from your student time. So I'd love to hear from you. How did you build your career, the challenges you face, and how did you overcome them?
Thank you, Laetitia. Let's not forget that in a career there is always a lot of, chance. Right, opportunity, it was there, etc. But if I try and think about what I did right, and also, I'm in a French bank and I graduated from the right scientific university. It always helps. Okay, so let's be honest about that. But I think that the most important thing I did right, aside from doing my best, working hard, which is something that almost women have in common, right? We work hard, we work maybe sometimes harder, I don't know. But mostly I think I built an incredible network of men, of women, my age, older, younger. So never hesitate to go and ask questions. That's how you learn. I'm sure it's the same in other industries. There is no manual on how to become a banker. You have to listen, you have to understand, and go ask people questions. I find that people love helping. Everybody loves helping. When it's easy, everybody loves explaining or helping. It's like, 99% of people are happy to help you. And I think the network is what I did right. If you support women that work for you, that is your boss, that are your peers, but also if you do the same with the men who, obviously in a male-dominated industry, it's a lot of men that will decide of your career. So you build that network. You work with them, you ask questions, you support everyone, and that helps a lot. It's not necessarily easy, and you mentioned that all my studies, and I was in the army, and I did two scientific university, and then I started in banking. So basically, I got used to being with men, and having men's friends, and being comfortable with the way they behave. Frenchmen, no?
Frenchman.
Just, I will leave the rest to your imagination. So after a while, you kind of, become immune. So my other advice is you don't care. Just go, okay? Just do your thing. Don't let it slide on you. And basically that helped. I didn't have brothers. I had a sister who's amazing, and she worked for Jane Fraser, and she's great. But I had all this life and so many male friends, and then I think it helped too. Yeah, but mostly I think the network, and of course developing kind of a second skin, a thicker.
Yeah, and I recall you telling me that men network matters because, in banks, big jobs are men, so they promote you. But women also matters even more, and you said they are so loyal with you after. When you help women, you build this group of women.
Yeah, but I think, okay, and let's be clear, the men, the blue guys are not the problem here. They are not the problem. The society is the problem. We all have biases. I did the test. I always have my teams do the bias, Harvard bias tests, etc. I am biased against women because I grew up in France. There's no ways I couldn't be. The entire society, my teachers, everyone told me to be pretty, to be quiet, and I didn't manage any of these things. But this is what I expect of women also. So basically, when you grow up in that, then, but at the same time, I've always been fascinated by women. My mother was, a very strong woman, and my sister, and so I think it balances that. We all have to make that extra effort to hire women and to really see what they can do. We all have to do that, all of us. I think most of us, we think we are not biased. We are. We unless you come from I don't know which country is the best, but not France. And Taiwan, Taiwan is good, but can also there is still a little bit margin of improvement. I would say, because all my clients, the chairman I met, they are all men. There is one Global Wafer is it's a chair lady. I love her. But basically, yeah, a lot of men. So men are not the problem. And yes, if you stick to the other women, it's easy to get jealous, okay? We all know that. It's easy between women to fight. I don't know why it's so sad, because we are so few, okay? I also get jealous. I get jealous of my
It's
sister.
like this half of her side is fighting with the left side. Is what you
when
mean?
you're alone, it's okay. This afternoon, we were 11 in the meeting. All MDs, chairman. I was the only woman. I was not fighting with me. I was really hugging myself. Huh? So it's okay. It's okay. But if there are two in a room, you have to be careful. Why? But and again, it's not the woman's fault. Okay? It's the society. It's the way we were raised. So really stick to each other. Make them. If your friend can get the job, it's almost as good as if you get the job. Okay? Because 5 years later, she will help you. She will support you. You will have shown that you're a good team player. So somebody else, a man, will promote you. Whatever. Okay? So just stick to them. Promote your team. Support your manager. Studies have shown. I don't like to say studies have shown, because scientifically it means absolutely nothing. But a lot of studies tend to.
I stopped saying that.
I'm sorry, Laetitia. But a lot of studies done by smart people seem to indicate. Now I lost my train of thought, because Laetitia will never have lunch with me anymore. I'm very sad right now. What was I saying? I don't know.
Support each other, because down the road it's worth it. Basically, that's what you were saying.
So, summary, good summary. Thank you, Laetitia. Okay. But studies have shown, no. A lot of studies tend to indicate that a woman is supported more by her male employees than by her female employees. And the female employees under her will perceive her as not good enough, not influential enough, aggressive instead of being assertive, etc. So just support each other, okay? And again, it's not men against women. It's really not. Think of the poor men who think, oh, it's the day of the woman, what about us? We are finished, I will never get a job, all the good job go to people like Manon. Okay, so okay, really, we all have to stick together.
Thank you, Manon. Okay. Let's move now to, talk about women founders and entrepreneurs, okay? So I'll ask Alissa to start and then Fini. But I just wanted to share some stats. Statistics. Some figures, whatever you, take it or don't believe it, whatever you want, but about actually US startup and France ecosystem. So basically there's about the same amount of percentage of female, at least having one female founders or co-founders in the startup, 28% in US, 21% in France, 14% female CEOs in the US, 12% female co-founders in the top 120 tech companies in France, but not, unfortunately, in the unicorns. So we have only one female co-founders among the 26 unicorns we have in France so far. She is in Vestiaire Collective, the platform, the e-commerce platform, but otherwise no woman somewhere else. And the big issue across the board, not only in US, but in France, and Clara Chapaz, our director, mentioned that in the beginning, but also, I think your testimony, Charlène, about, semiconductor is also showing the same. They don't have access to financing. Okay, so also in US. So only 11% of the fund raised by female co-founders. Okay, so female co-founders grab 11% of the money raised in US, 10% in France, so pretty the same, but female only is 2%, So only 2%, so less than 5%, and this is across the board. So they don't have access to the money. And without, needless to say, when we read somebody raised 200 million, 500 million, there's no woman there. Okay, so that's really a major issue now to give this accessibility. So I'd love to start with you, Alissa, because you are basically leading UpWorks as a principal in charge of the accelerator program. So what are your thoughts? Do you have many, in Taiwan and in Southeast Asian figures, to compare a bit with France and US? And also, in your job every day, in all the cohort of startups that you are recruiting, how do female founders performed? How many of them you have? Do you have differences among the different countries? You recruit women founders. I know you have Indonesian founders, Philippine, Taiwanese, etc. So love to hear from you, how you reflect on that.
Sure. So before I share, I want to give a background context of how we run the accelerator program. So at UpWorks, we have 2 batches accelerator program per year. So for a year, we will recruit like 50 to 70 tech startups, not only from Taiwan, but also from Southeast Asia. And we've been running this accelerator program for like 11 years. So now in our founder community, we have more than 400 active startup in our community. And like 40% to 50% of them are based in Taiwan, and around another 50% they are from, not from Taiwan, they are from mostly Southeast Asia. So within this 400-something tech startups, I've been monitoring the stats, for several years. So compare with these stats here, if compared to UpWorks Accelerator, within our 400 startup, I would say the ratio of female founder is around 20% among these 400. And one thing I'm a little bit surprised is over these 11 years, the ratio didn't change much. So from batch 1, batch 2, from earlier batches till recent batches, the ratio of female founders still remains 20%. So this is something I can share with you guys, but however, this stats is probably a little bit skewed because UpWorks Accelerator, we focus more on AI and blockchain. It's more advanced technology. And for startup working on these 2 technology, mostly the founders, they tend to be male and graduate from engineering background. So that's why the ratio is maybe a little bit skewed. And if you dig a little bit further into the stats, I got 2 findings. First one is, if you monitor these stats over these 11 years, you will find out that at earlier batches, most of the female founders in a startup, they are more like the supportive and functional roles. For example, maybe they are like doing marketing, maybe they are doing administrative stuff or like operational stuff. But in recent batches, I do see more and more female founders in the startup. They tend to become the decision-making roles. I see more and more female CEOs in recent batches. So this is what I can share with you. And the other thing is, although in our community, female founder, the ratio is only 20%, but I think that's because we focus more on AI and blockchain. But if you dig into the stats, you will find out that in the industry of lifestyle, F&B, like fashion, beauty, these kind of topics, actually there are a lot of female founders. So I think it still goes back to the overall like society, the education, the culture difference. If you think there are less female founders, probably it's just because when you meet them in your life, you probably didn't get to meet those female founders working in different area. So I'm still pretty optimistic, and I think that's why I'm always an advocate for female powers, because I believe if we happens to let more young girls, they can see more role models, they can see more like female founders, and they can know that in the future they can be one of them, right? And I know that one of your question is, what's the situation these female founders they face during their startup life? So oftentimes I still heard from our female founders, there are still some uncomfortable situations in their startup life. For example, when they showed up in a business meeting or they showed up in a fundraising event, sometimes the other parties, they still expect to see a male CEO or a male founder to close the deal or to do the pitch. So this is sometimes they still feel very uncomfortable with this situation. So that's why there are still many like supporting groups among the female founders. For example, for our Indonesian female founders, they have several this kind of founders chat group, and they will exchange information in the group and provide some supporting words for each other. And this is the status quo. And by having more role models exposed to the younger generation, I hope that one day we can change this situation.
Thanks, Alisa. And that's actually echo what Manon said about support each other, right, among women. Thanks a lot. Fini? So we talked about blockchain. So how is it over there in blockchain? How is the status there?
So I am an HR of a Kubernetes, right? So, but personally, I'm doing some, like a blockchain, like a sort of like podcast, and then, like a education program. So let me do a little bit test. We have like 1/3 of male here, but so yeah, welcome you guys. And then like how many of you are buying any cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or Ethereum, like any of you? Like please raise your hand. If you have
Say the truth.
So it's like half, right? No, it's more like a male half, right? So apparently we can see, like men's, like men to be love the new tech more than women. That's probably a stereotype, but like I find it, like women have, kind of like fear of to learn the new stuff, probably in blockchain and things like that. Blockchain is more, like hardcore and more like, like about the, what's that? Oh, like coding, and then like that kind of really hardcore things, right? So in this industry, I find that like more women, they are focused on marketing, community, instead of like a coder and project manager or like a founders. So in Taiwan, I noticed probably less than 10%, like startup, they have a female co-founder. So which is really rare compared to the status we have here, right? So it is I recently doing, a series of, like female worker in blockchain. And then I find they don't feel a fear if they work in this industry, right? So because in blockchain, people we are helping, doesn't matter you are female or male, the gender is not so important in blockchain, I would say. It's more about, what's your thoughts, and then what's your idea, and what can you create in this blockchain, or we can call meta world, right? Metaverse. So I would definitely recommend, like most of female here to just approach, this new tech. It's not that hard. Even for me, I'm not the, like technical guy. I don't code. I'm more like marketing person, but I'm still, participate. It's, like to the coder night and then talk to engineer, like, like those women do. So that's my answer.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Finny, for that. So I go back to you, Alisa. We changed topic and really more about, you told me, I said, we are not born leaders and we learn to become leaders, right? And I know that, so you've been working for 6 years plus now and really like having outperforming and then being promoted, very frequently. So it's tiring, of course, but also, I mean, very rewarding. So I'd love to hear from you how you turn actually from a single contributor to actually a team leader, and what was the challenge you have to face, and of course gender bias situation that you have to cope with as well.
Yeah, I'm very grateful that my boss promoted me several times, but at the same time, it's a very struggling journey because at AppWorks I used to be an intern, so I worked from an intern to the very junior analyst, and then got promoted to associate, and then got promoted to principal leading this business. And at first, when I remember that was the first year after I came back to AppWorks and work as an analyst, the junior role. And one day, my boss told me they want to let me wear another hat called head of accelerator. And back then, I was the most junior one, but I need to coordinate with a lot more senior coworkers, and also, work with founders. And looking back, I think something I did wrong was at first I tried too hard to prove myself. So when I started wearing the hat of head of accelerator, I tried to convince people that I'm worth it. So when I face founders, I try too hard to give them advice. I try too hard to help them solve the problem. And when I face my coworkers, I try too hard to manage them and expect them to deliver the result per my request. And I remember there were some harsh moments. There was when I tried to give advice that I personally feel very cool and very thoughtful to the founders, but from their eyes, I can totally tell them they don't need my advice and they don't appreciate my advice because I'm a lot more junior than them compared our work experience. So later, I tried to adjust my approach, and I realized my approach was wrong, and I started humbly learn from the founders. I started ask them questions, and by asking them questions, I can better understand what's their pain points and what's their needs. And from there, I did two things, and now I look back, I think these two things I did pretty right. So the first thing is I learn from them, and I get to know their pain point and needs, and from there I get to design the program based on their needs. And turn out the program is pretty successful. That's why I got get a serial promotion. And then the second thing I did right is back then, because I had a lot of conversations with founders and I learned a lot from them, and I got a lot of ideas. So I started writing articles. And I remember that year, within a year, I published more than like 30, 40 articles about entrepreneurship, about those lessons I learned from founders. And every time I publish an article, I got some founders that will give me some positive feedback and tell me that my articles help them a lot and solve the problems they recently are facing. So from here, I started build up my confidence in myself, and then it create a positive cycle. And I also applied it to the so-called leadership. So after getting promoted, from working alone to I need to coordinate and work with a team. And I got inspired from how I work with founders, so I also applied it to my team members. I think ask question is very important. By asking right questions, you can know what their goal is and what's their motivation and what do they care most about and what they are struggling with. So from there, you can be a better leader to delegate the right task to them and to better solve their problems. But I think I haven't done the perfect job yet, so I think become a better leader is a constant lesson. I still need to improve and learn from time to time. So this is still something I'm working on right now.
Thanks, Alyssa. I think we'll be running late, so I'm going to jump to the last questions because Manon have to leave as well. So I'm not going to read those quotes, but basically it's more about, we talk about work-life balance. So I maybe just read the one from Sheryl Sandberg, because she's mentioning about that sentence by itself, that it's kind of weird for her because, she's saying that framing the issue of work-life balance as if the two were dramatically opposed practically ensures work will lose out. Who would ever choose work over life? So I think that's a pretty strong one. So I'd love to hear, Manon, maybe you can start about, how how does this resonate, to you? You're a mother of 2 kids and you have 1 husband. only. So how do you reflect on that?
Yes. I'm looking at Polly, who has 2 times more
and then
children
Polly
than I do.
will answer as well.
So I am humbled by. Yeah, I think. Well, I think being a woman, and that's very personal, but I think it's a gift and a curse. On one hand, we have options in a sense that men don't always have or don't feel they have. Okay, the pressure women have in society, men have a different pressure, but they have a huge pressure too. For example, I think that if I decided to stop working and I could afford it financially, then nobody would judge me for being a mom, for working at home, for taking a break, for doing all this. It's not the case for men. Some courageous men do it, but they face real pressure and judgment from society. They face other men just discounting them, women feeling, oh, but this is a girls' group. It's not a parenting group. It's a girls' group. Don't be there. I think we have choices. We can choose so many things, and it's really great. We are allowed to cry, but not in banking, but in general, we are allowed to cry. There are so many things, choices that we as women have, I feel. I can dress like men and people will tolerate it. I can dress like a woman. Men can't do that. No, not really, not yet. Okay, so I feel a great freedom of being a woman. At the same time, the fact that I can choose so many things mean that, yeah, we are trying to choose a lot and we often get exhausted. I don't think we can choose everything, okay? So for example, I gave up on my hair, okay? I gave up, okay, because I have 2 kids, a husband that I really love, and the dog and the work and the family. So you have to prioritize, okay? That's what I would say. And some people do it. It depends on your level of energy. Of course, I need a lot of sleep, so I have to prioritize. But yeah, but I think we are very lucky, but we have to give up some things. And for example, when you know, people will say, as a woman, you're expected to be very involved with your children, even if you're a general manager or, you know, in senior position. You are still expected to be extremely involved with your children. That's true. But would you choose otherwise? I mean, yes, but I think men are expected to not to be too involved also. And, you know, if they are, it will be applauded, it's true, oh, what a father. But, you know, they will be compared to other men who give everything to work. So I think we have to appreciate the freedom that we have, but then you have to give up on stuff. You have to choose, you have to accept that you will not be a top model, a mother, and a great professional, okay? You have to choose. Let's choose two, okay? I chose two. Okay.
You still can catch up the last one. A few years down the road, top model. Okay. Polly, so you work harder, right, than Manon, no? You have how many kids?
I have 4 kids.
Wow, I think
Sorry, one of them is my husband. I just told him. But 3, yes, this is a number. Okay. Difficult. I think I'm very grateful that I have a good boss, and this boss promote me several times. Okay, in my career. Okay, and he is here today, Pepe, together with me. Yeah. So. So to have the work and the life balance, I think the most important thing that you need to have a good boss, because they can understand the work and life balance, how important it is. So indeed, they give some flexibility because they understand. Okay. Then second, actually, my company is really promoting this diversity and inclusion thing. So the company is also advocate to this topic. So this is also give some flexibility to females that we have many things need to deal every day, right? Okay. And to have the work and the life balance, I think it's important, like Manu just mentioned. It's a matter of choice. It's a matter of choice, and you have to force you to make the work and the life balance. No matter how busy I am, I always need to read a book to my daughter before the bedtime. I don't know if today I'm able to make it or not, but hopefully I'm able to make it. To make the choice and try to force you to have the balance in your life, and somehow you need to do some sacrifice, because we are not able to choose everything. We have to prioritize our life. So this is something we all need. I'm not still very good at everything. I'm still in the journey, but this is the way I will insist to do. Okay.
Thanks, Polly. So, I mean, to finish, this panel, I welcome you guys to encourage you to take away, one piece of advice of each of our speakers present. So here they are. So maybe Manon, you want to start? Maybe we just follow that way. Briefly, elaborate what you mean by that.
Okay, it sounds very corny, but I think it's important. You will get a lot of advice. Generally, most people will really give you advice that they think will genuinely help you. But some of this advice is really, really bad. So at some point, you really have to be comfortable with yourself. And in the long run, it works. Okay, sometimes not in the short run. But you have to be confident that if you stay authentic in the medium term, it will really work out for you. Don't try to be what people expect you to do. To be a woman, a glamorous woman, a man, whatever, the different advice you will have. It's not possible to give so much energy and to be happy at work if you're not authentic.
Thanks, Mano. Charlene?
Yeah, don't set a limit for yourself, including the gender. So I think everybody define themselves. You define yourself. You don't live in other people's side. So yeah, just be yourself. And I think one thing is it's very important for everyone, no matter this for male or female. You self-learning. That's and you keep learning. That's a very important things. And don't set the limit. There's no boundary.
Thanks, Charlotte. Alisa?
I would say always express yourself, probably because I'm a very opinionated person. So I think why it's important is you need to tell people your ideas. You need to tell people your unique perspective. Otherwise, you never know what's the following opportunities you might get. So people need to learn more about you. That's the piece of advice I would like to give.
Thanks, Alisa. Fini?
Yeah, so for me, is live for yourself, right? So the interesting part is, look at that. It's all about yourself, 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 and another yourself. So I think it's pretty important just, like to know yourself and to know what you're doing, be confident, live for yourself. Doesn't matter, like, do we know the right answer or not? Just keep doing it. Like life is no right answer. So for me, I doing, like several things because I'm looking for myself, not looking for the right solution. I don't know what's the best for me, but, at least I can try and to find it. And probably, like Steve Jobs say, all the dots will connect in the future. So
Thanks, Fini.
that's for everyone.
Thank you. Polly, last sentence for you.
To own what you do. To own what you do. I think to own what you do, it's not a matter that you run a company or you are sorting the mail in the mail room. Okay, by starting taking the ownership, you can doing something good. Okay, so it's not matter of like what other people are doing or what the roadblock in front of you. I think to starting from own what you do, you can show that your capability to do more things. Thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you. The 5 of you. We are running late, but I hope, you guys get some fruitful, advice to take back home. Thank you so much. So now I invite, our second group of speakers on the stage, Eva, Alice, Judith, and Amy.在 Eva 旁边吧，谢谢 Alice。Okay. So let me spend a few minutes to introduce, our 4 ladies, super ladies, I would say. So starting from Eva. So Eva how do I pronounce properly, Eva? I'm sorry. Lai Henner Stefan. Okay. So CEO of L'Oréal Taiwan. Eva is German. But she's been from day one, really international in the sense that she studied, in France, but actually in a ESCP, European Business School. So that brings her to different capital cities in Europe. She has also a degree from Universität of Regensburg in Germany, so double degree. She's been working, having an amazing career in L'Oréal for 20 years now. L'Oréal brought her in many places: France, Germany, Australia, Beijing, we can say as well, and Taiwan now. So she'll tell us more about that afterwards. Alice, so our unicorn lady of the day. So MBA graduate from UCLA, definitely a serial entrepreneur. So I've been, from Cyberlink to Perfect Cop. She cannot stop herself to actually build and grow companies. And Perfect Cop today is an international beauty and fashion tech company serving 400 brands worldwide, present in 11 offices. So really international, Taiwanese founded based startup. Judith, grew up in Australia, from Hong Kongese origin, started to work in finance, Citigroup, very serious. and then moved to startup. Yes. And engineer, right? Engineer, then finance, then startup. So, so definitely, she never get bored. And now she's the CEO of City Social, a Taiwan-based e-commerce platform. And Amy, we have the chance to know from my time at L'Oréal when she was management trainee. So, and she did amazing career since then, from L'Oréal, Unilever, to Facebook and Apple, in I think Taiwan, France, and Singapore. So, and beyond her corporate life, she's an author of children's book about how children should appreciate technology. You tell me more about that later. So thank you so much, the four of you, to be with us today. And I think for the sake of time, I'm going to jump directly to actually asking you, Eva, about how do we do to build an international career, a truly international career, like you have, from the day one, from your study to, your career. So can you share with us actually your journey in Europe, and also I'd love to hear, if there's any culture gap, because there is between French and German. So don't tell me there is no, there is. And also, so within the West there is, and also from West to East, coming, and you have different experience of East actually, because Australia, is in East, but it's really special island, somewhere down the South. So what are the gaps, the culture gaps, and how did you actually, what it took you to succeed in this very diverse environment?
Okay, thank you. So first of all, how do you do an international career? I was always open, and I was raised by my parents to be very open-minded, and starting during school time, exchange programs. So that was my love to France as well, going over from Germany, but then also decided to do some international studies, as you just mentioned, in France, in the UK, and in Germany. So that was like the first step in saying it's not just all about staying in Germany and doing my career, my future here, but also being open-minded. And that was the same thing when I then started working. And yes, I've over 20 years at L'Oréal. I have 1 year at a management consulting in Ernst & Young, which was sort of a side track. And I do not regret any single year in this journey. And why? It's probably because it is this kind of international experience that I could gain. And in every single step, it's a journey. For me, life is a learning journey. And being open-minded, absorbing, learning is just a magic chance. And it's about grabbing that chance. So every single stage was different. And yes, you asked me, what is the difference between working for L'Oréal in Germany and working for L'Oréal in France? Well, it is so different, and it's the same as well. So saying the French people, the Germanic ones, are you Germanic? You want to go straight, and then you come to France and they tell you, no, let's do a little zigzag. And probably people arrive at the same time. Is the result better or worse? I don't know, but it's a different experience. The journey is different, and you learn. I wouldn't still stick to that company if I couldn't cope with that culture. But so yes, already in Europe, I experienced a lot of differences. And then coming here, or even going to Australia, where I lived 5 years, where also my kids were born, and I've got 2 boys, so 3 men in my life, not my husband. But also there, already adapting to this complete different culture. Yes, Western culture, of course, but I always said it was a big mix between the US, the UK, and a little bit of Asian culture influence. So fantastic opportunity to learn and see what the life values are there, and managing your life, work-life balance from a different side, I guess, in Australia. And then now the learning journey, just coming back here to Taiwan, what I'm learning, and I'm only here since 6 months, but it's amazing what I can see, what I can learn, and asking questions. I think you guys said it's all about asking questions, because I'm here to learn, to understand. It's my journey, right? My role as being CEO of L'Oréal here is about understanding what I can contribute, but therefore I need to understand what is important for the people to make this a great place to work, and listening to them, and also understanding. And in the beginning, just giving one example, when I first arrived, they would say, oh, what does Eva want, black or red? I was like, why would I decide? Why did you propose black or red? Or you ask, why do you do this and this? They're just simplifying. So it's a different culture. And in asking more questions, I can see the creativity of the people and where does it come from. And now I tell them, don't just ask me what I would do, but do a recommendation. and justify your recommendation and you know, stand up for what you do. And this is how I learn, and this is how I see things. So super exciting.
Yeah, and love when you told me about the way you do market visit. You know, when you tell me you went south of Taiwan, and then, of course, I mean, your staff and the beauty advisors, they want to please you. I mean, the CEO of L'Oréal is coming south, so they want to take you all to the fancy, westernized restaurant. And where did you ask them to take you instead?
So when we do the market visit, you go to Mitsukoshi or Sogo, and you go Jiayo, and you see the teams and the counter, and you know, you always have this, okay, let's do quickly and let's see as many stores and counters as you can see. I said, no, I'm here. I want to discover Taiwan. I want to see things. So we went to Tainan, and I said, okay, so where can we go? So show me. And we went to eat different places, the famous fish soup, there's a new rotang, whatever. So it was amazing. And this is how I discovered. And I guess we said it before, it's a journey where you can combine, you know, learning and seeing and feeling the differences. And even in going out in Tainan and comparing it to Taipei, you can see it's so different. People in the stores already being more chatty, laotia, they spend more time with their people. Yeah, it's really, there's a cultural difference. So maybe you adopt your program as well. And you ask those questions to your team, what you observe, what you see. And it can always reflect back what is interesting. So I guess it's a mix for me to discover the culture, the beautiful island, and at the same time also to see how I can enhance the business even more.
Thanks a lot, Eva, for the sharing. Alice? So on the tech side more, you know, as a woman entrepreneur, so like I said, you know, you never stop actually building companies and growing companies. So can you tell me, as a woman and also mother, right? You have also, I mean, you find the time to build a family at the same time. So how did you actually, as a Taiwanese woman serial entrepreneurs, went through that journey? What drives you? What makes that actually, despite, you know, whatever, you know, challenges you can have, being an Asian woman, you know, also challenge of, you know, we talk about building a family at the same time as working. What drives you to never stop building companies after Cyberlink and now Perfect Corp, and I don't know what's the third one will be?
I think because I believe this is a choice of everybody's life. Based on your personality, my personality, I just love create new things, doing something new. I cannot do the same thing for too long. I always want to change. I think that's one of the driver to be an entrepreneur. So I like to start a company and create from the scratch and see it grow, just like my two sons. So I have 4 children, 2 sons and 2 companies. Okay, plus husband, only one. So I think this is a personality. This is a personal life choice, and just I love to create. When I see the opportunity that I can, the opportunity sometimes for most of the people is a challenge, but for me, I just love challenge, and I think challenge is the opportunity. The other way around. And if you embrace the challenge, it means you can conquer it and you can win the opportunity and you can keep on growing. You can keep on creating new things. So,
and do you think it's easy as a Taiwanese woman to go international? Because sometimes, you know, I have this discussion about, you know, it's easier to go from west to east and staffer maybe from east to west. I mean, what's your thoughts on it? Because you have, I mean, 11 offices, so you have teams, you know, I don't know how many nationalities in Perfect Corp, right? So you have to manage them, show them the way. I mean, with your Asian roots, you know, how do you cope with that challenge?
Yeah, it's challenge. It's very challenging, you know, because our technology, we are a technology company, no matter Cyberlink or Perfect Corp. For a technology company, Taiwan is not enough for you to grow more and more. So you need to go out of Taiwan. There's no choice. Which are the market that can make you bigger, then you go there. You just go there and create the market there. You need to find the right people in US, in New York, in Silicon Valley, in Paris, in Berlin, in Tokyo, so many places, in India, in Brazil. because your customers are there, so you need to go there. And how? Just of course you need to you need to expose your you need to get your company, your technology really good, and show to the people, demo to the brands, and go to a trade show, go to the digital marketing, everything. You need to do everything. For a startup, as an entrepreneur, you have to do everything because everything is a start from scratch. And then you can see it grow. So facing the cultural difference, of course, Taiwan, France, Germany are really different. US is also different, not to mention China, Japanese, Korea. And then I think one of the strengths as a Taiwanese born entrepreneur, female, we are very flexible. Taiwanese culture, I think, is the most adaptive and the most flexible. So we can adapt different way of culture and different way of doing things. And China always think their market is so unique. It's totally different. We have a good customer in France, in Paris. Their way of even signing a contract is different from the way Japanese are signing a contract or deal with you when they negotiate the contract, negotiate the business. And for me, I think it's good because I think Taiwanese is really, we are flexible. So we can deal with so many different things at the same time. We can absorb all the different way of thinking and different culture and even diversities. So I don't know how other think, but that's my true experience.
Maybe a last one, because like I said, you turned unicorn yesterday. So we talk about less than 2% or 3%, of the money, the fundraise, in US, in France, and everywhere are actually given to women-only founders. How do you raise money? Like you go to US, so you've turned. I mean, you merge, you did the SPAC merger in US to make you become that unicorn. So giving you access to, I read, hundreds of millions of dollars, right, moving forward. So how does a woman founder, Asian woman founder, pitch to get hundreds of millions of dollars?
It's also very lucky because we are doing beauty tech. We are a tech company, but we are using tech to help beauty do digital transformation. So for me to face almost 100% male investors, and most of them, they don't know beauty that much. But yeah, so, and I do see a few portion of them really love beauty. They can understand beauty right away because this is a consumer tech. This is a beauty tech. This is part of the retail tech. And this is the opportunity that they understand tech can help transit the whole digital way of communicating with beauty lovers. So I'm lucky. I think they understand what I said, so I convinced them.
So did you do the demo with the AR, VR, and then the lipstick color change on the app?
Yeah,
and you take a picture of their face, and then you change the lipstick on their face? You did
of course, change my face instead of theirs. And I always said, you cannot show to your wife, show to your daughter. If they love it, it means all the female will love it. Okay. And most of the time when they came back to me, they are so happy. They say, "Wow, my daughter love it." It means Gen Z love it. Then that's the future.
Okay, thanks a lot, Alice, for the sharing. So let's move to I think our last. Yeah, so I like we spend some time with Amy and Judith about. Actually, when you want to grow your career, you do, as a woman, everybody have, challenge and barriers to success, but women in particular. So this is, some figures about that, and I love actually Amy to start to comment on that, in terms of like gender bias, the lack of mentorship or finding role models, lack of feeling yourself capable, to apply for a job, because usually men, there's a study saying that men, they apply for a job when they found 60% match, and women will, wait to find a 100% match before they do so. So, so Amy, maybe, I'd love to hear your sharing on that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think imposter syndrome, which is mentioned here, is definitely something I worked on a lot early in my career. And actually, according to study, it happens a lot to people who are, it happens more often to people who are perfectionists. So if you have high demand of yourself, that's something that, you hold yourself to a very high standard. I think what is very important for me later on is to understand that there is the feeling, but there is also the fact, right? I think when you talked about applying for a job or maybe, asking for a promotion, have a growth mindset versus having a fixed mindset. What I mean is growth mindset, think about what's the value that you can put on the table, what can you do to this certain position or organization, versus thinking that if I don't tick all the boxes, I'm going to fail. Because the truth is, if you do tick all the boxes, you likely will be very bored after 3 months of taking that job, because that means that you're not learning enough. So I think having that growth mindset is definitely very important. The second bar here, 41%, shows no mentor. And when I looked at it, I was so surprised. I think very often people think about mentorship as I need to look for someone who is a senior executive, sitting on the top chart of the org, and ask politely, can you be my mentor? I approach mentorship a bit more differently. The way I look at it is I create my own board of advisor, and really it composes so many people. It composes my managers, it composes someone I really look up to in my workplace. It composes, my father-in-law, my sister, depending on the issues that you have, right? Sometimes when I have an issue, I just need to go to one of my friends, and then I know this person will just give me a slap on the face and say, move on, it's not an issue, you think too much, right? You know that kind of friends in your life. So depending on that issue, create that board advisors for yourself. I always find it more valuable than having, trying to have a certain mentor. I think over the course of a few years and I just think you can look at my notes, because after giving birth to my 2 girls, I give them my brain. A few things I found very helpful for myself. One, working in 2 US companies, one Facebook, one Apple. Have any of you worked in a US company before? If you can raise your hand. No, a few of you. I do need to work a lot with, type A personalities. I don't know if that's your experience or not, but you just need to elbow your way through sometimes. And I learned those hard lessons myself. And sometimes you just need to be assertive. What I mean by that is, if you sometimes, even small things, your tone of voice, the way you express yourself, right? You can look at that flower and say, that flower is yellow versus that flower is yellow, right? Taking a statement, right? And sometimes I notice in the meeting room, my female colleague will say, I'm so sorry, this may be a stupid question, but, XYZ, right? Don't apologize, be less apologetic, but just more confident in what you want to say, and stand up for it. The second thing that I learned is to be comfortable with being vulnerable, with vulnerability. I thought that really helped people to bring their authentic self to work. And one of the examples I have when working at Facebook is it was this internal conference, and our VP was on stage giving a speech. And so this is a VP, a very senior executive, managing $1 billion of business. And I have a chat with him afterwards, and he was telling me that I was really nervous. And I was like, what? Even you get nervous on stage? And he was like, yeah, of course, every time. And that moment, it's such an aha moment for me. Like, I start to realize it's an issue that everybody deals with. And so it's no longer a big deal, right? That we can work on it together. And so I just thought that was one example that I have. And I started to be more vulnerable, showing my vulnerability with my team as well, to tell them about the issues I'm going through. I just found that very helpful also. Something I learned working, in the international environment. Because definitely I felt that, I'm Taiwanese, born and raised. So I thought that, those issues is not something that we talked about at workplace, talking about being a working mom, etc. We feel sometimes those are private matters, right? That you keep it to yourself, or you don't want to be seen weak. And so, yeah, that was a big lesson for me. The third thing is about speaking up. So there's this TED talk called Know Your Worth and Ask for It. All right. The key message that I have here are two things. One is a clear communications of your value, and also find your voice in doing it. Right. I think at the beginning, when working in a U.S. company, I was told a lot for not speaking up and not presenting my work enough. And my thought at that time, when my manager gave me this feedback, I just thought that, I will let my work present itself, right? Why do I need to go out there and market my work? But later on, you notice that you're not just doing that for yourself, you're actually doing that for your team, for the team that you represent, right? So when you need to ask for resources from your cross-functional team, etc., it's very important to learn to speak up. So have a look at that tech talk and talk about, know your value and have your own voice in doing it. I thought that was very helpful as well. Number 4 is about, we talked about supporting others earlier. Sorry, is it okay? Okay, can I carry on? Okay. Just give me a time check. All right, so we talked about supporting others earlier, and I just thought that, it's helpful to talk about how to do it. Right? I want to give you this example earlier in my career when I was, in a sales function, speaking to some of the CMOs in a region. And very often, if I walk into that meeting room with another male colleague, I just feel that they think that I'm there to take note. I.e. that they would just always raise the questions to that male colleague, ask for his advices, and I'm literally just there to take note. And what happened afterwards is I would just intentionally dress up. Like I'll put my hair, curly hair, heavy makeup, high heels. You're really dressed up to be more mature. That was the way that I thought I can, create that executive presence, right? I see some of you nodding your heads. I'm pretty sure you have the same experiences. Until one day, my male colleague really did something that was very helpful to me. So again, the client was, looking at him in the eyes only, asking questions, and my colleague just turned to me and say, Amy is the expert of this topic, and Amy will take this question, right? So he just, reinforced, it created that credibility for me. So I see some male colleagues here, male audience here. Be that ally for your female colleagues as well whenever you observe that happening in the meeting room. Or you can always echo and say, I agree with what Amy said earlier, and I think that XYZ is a good advice, right? So help others to build up that credibility if you feel that gender bias is a big elephant in the room. Number 5, this is very important, it's funny, we just don't assume. I think very often as female, okay, I'll give you a very funny example. So my husband is a white male. We talked about French earlier. And sometimes I would just laugh at him for having white man privilege in Asia. We live in Asia for the longest time. And when we are at the airport, when we have, overweight luggage, when we need to fight for exit seat, or window seat, I just send him to the counter and pretend I don't know him, right? He always gets things done, right? And I always laugh at him and say, they just thought that you are business, executives. You always get a white man privilege. And one day he just say, why don't you just ask for it, right? And I think that's, again, another aha moment for me is, why don't I just ask, right? Why do I assume it won't work for me, right? And I think that's very important lesson that I carry on, and he's gonna be so proud of this. I'm mentioning him in this conference, but that sometimes you just need to speak up and ask for it. So again, going back to this third point, know your worth and ask for it. Sorry.
Thanks, Amy. No, thanks. That was, I think, very, interesting for the. So I think, Judith, I'll give you the last, questions about, I think you're also going through that, coming from, born in Hong Kong, growing up in Australia, working in Australia, then, going back to the, I would say, east somehow with Taiwan. So I know your angle on what Amy shared a bit different. So I'd love to hear, your thoughts on that.
The time we're taking away, so
Yeah,
I'll make
so
it short and sweet.
No worry.
So I like to encourage young women out there, 2 pieces of advice. One is really get out of your comfort zone and try to gain more well-rounded experience and skills. You certainly cannot expect a clear path all laid out in front of you, right? Don't be afraid to ask, because that shows that you're taking initiative and you're being proactive. So speak up and voice your opinions. My first job was an engineer, and I didn't like it. I wanted to go to another function in the company. I literally just approached the VP of that function, and I pitched myself to him. And by asking, I was able to create a position for myself, and that invaluable experience had opened doors for me in my career. The second piece of advice I have is embrace opportunities that make you feel uneasy. Now, many of us are shy about promoting ourselves because we feel like, oh, we're not good enough, or it feels like we're showing off. But the reality is self-promotion is necessary to advance in your careers, right? So there was a point in time in my career where I was asked by my manager to present to a function of 150 people because it would increase my profile in the company, and that it would get my name known. And that was extremely daunting for me because I'm super submissive back in the days. And, I would not walk along the hallway with my head up. I would always keep my head down, try not to say hi to, make small talks to my colleagues who are white male. And so that was a huge step for me. And also at that time, I felt like, why? Why can't I thought my everyday hard work was already enough for people to notice me. So I didn't really understand why, but I did it anyway. And through that experience, I was able to overcome my fear of speaking in public, which is a really important skill to have. And it's also a skill that can only improve with practice. So just in summary, 2 pieces of advice. Really encourage women out there to speak up, to create opportunities for yourselves. And also, don't always pick the easy path. Really try to push your boundaries more.
Thanks, Judith, and thanks for taking care of the time. So I think, we probably, for the sake of time, jump directly to the conclusion. If you don't mind, because we have the speed dating coming after. So I'd love to hear from each of you, the piece of advice that you would like people to take away home tonight and elaborate a bit. Eva, would you like to start first?
Yeah, for me, it's seize the opportunity. If you see something coming up, go for it. It's a little bit what you said. Get out of your comfort zone, make it happen, and maybe just adding in a very, very short sentence that in my career in 20 years plus at L'Oreal, I had the chance at one moment managing double career with my husband. So when we were leaving Australia, the question was, do I follow my husband for his role, for his job to China? So I said, okay, I do it. I was just embracing that opportunity. We went to Beijing, and L'Oreal is in Shanghai, and I had 2 little boys and no way to do the Shanghai-Beijing commuting and in this market where I don't speak Mandarin and being there. So I went to Beijing and I embraced it, and 1 year of sabbatical turned out to be 2, but in that time I was not just a mom, I was also using it for myself in discovering this rich culture of China and learning a little bit Mandarin and doing some charity work. So. And in the end, L'Oreal managed that for me and said, well done, because in the end, after 2 years, they called me and said, it's time to come back. You've been down under, then you've been in China, so how about you come back? And they offered me this great general management role in Germany, which was a fantastic opportunity, but they saw that in this career path, I did step out. I was, self-confident enough to say, I make the most out of it. I'm not out, I'm here, and I learned, I matured. And this was an opportunity I took, and I'm not regretting it, and I think it's a great choice.
Thanks, Eva. Alice?
Yeah, same here. I said embrace and enjoy the challenge, but you know, my challenge is also the same as the opportunity. So never a very smooth path, no matter you are a career woman or you are a founder CEO. It's never easy. There's nothing, no free lunch at all. So just need to embrace and face it, embrace it, conquer it, and enjoy all the challenge and the opportunities ahead of you.
Thanks, Alice.
My piece of advice is know your end goal and make well-informed decisions. So stay focused on your target and work backwards from there. And make sure that every step that you take is based on the facts, the alternatives, and your consequences.
All right, so mine is life is not a highway. So while you get to the end goal, don't forget to look at the scenery. Choose the path of curiosity over the path of fear.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks a lot. So thank you, the four of you. So I think we're done here on the panel side, so we're pretty late. But I think, that's amazing, all the sharings, So thank you so much for genuinely, I think really, sharing, some tips. Nobody has the answer, but at least some tips to the audience. So I think we're going to break down now into groups of speed dating. Okay?
Yes.
Cerise?
Thank you, ladies, for your sharing, for your time. And now we're going to reorganize a little bit the room for the speed dating. You have 9 tables that have color cards with the name of the speaker on it, organized. So hold your cards. And according to your first card written session 1, you can head to your table. Tables are organized in this order: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.